do you explain the failure? Was it inattention, arrogance?
It's a good question.
Was it unethical?
Sam Bankman-Fried, the man who was once compared to titans of finance like John Pierpont Morgan and Warren Buffett. He was the savior of crypto, or more like the wolf of crypto.
Sam and his cohorts perpetuated a fraud. They used customer money to make bets that he poorly risk managed after he made them.
The saga kicked off on November 2 after a leaked balance sheet from Alameda listed $3.66 billion in unlocked FTT, referring to the token of crypto exchange FTX, as well as $2.16 billion worth of FTT collateral. The leaked balance sheet showed a total of $14.6 billion in assets and some $8 billion in liabilities, which include $7.4 billion worth of loans. Alameda had borrowed from other crypto companies using this pile of FTX Alameda loyalty card points. It had the FTT because FTX had needed to bail out Alameda after the collapse of Terra Luna and sent over its own made-up FTT tokens, claiming these were assets of value. FTT was an internal token created for traders on FTX, very like supermarket loyalty card points, but FTT was also a crypto asset, traded outside FTX. It had a mark-to-market value, and people traded against it, such as Bankman-Fried's other company, Alameda.
It's an $8 billion hole in FTX's balance sheet.
A large trading firm holding so much of one asset concerned the crypto community and led questions regarding the relationship between Alameda and FTX. On November 5, blockchain tracker Whale Alert shared that just under 23 million FTX token, representing approximately 17% of the circulating supply and valued at $584.8 million at the time, had been moved onto Binance. This event turned out to be one of the first signs of FTX's liquidity crisis. Alameda Research CEO Caroline Ellison said on November 6 that leaked information about the firm's balance sheet only tells part of the story. She tweeted that the leaked information on Alameda's balance sheet misses billions worth of other assets. Later that day, Binance CEO Changpeng CZ Zhao said his exchange would liquidate its entire FTT holdings, citing recent revelations that have come to light, believed to be in reference to the Alameda balance sheet. Zhao said Binance held around $2.1 billion equivalent in Binance USD and FTX token, due to its FTX divestment last year, but didn't clarify Binance's current FTT holdings.
Binance's CEO has come out as saying that there's some sort of risk surrounding the token, and it's due to recent revelations, which is sort of cryptic. Now, Binance won't offer any more comments beyond what CZ has said over Twitter, and he said a fair amount about the FTT token, but there's a lot of speculation around what he's saying and what he means.
Binance received the funds in FTT as part of its exit last year from an early equity position in FTX it had had since 2019. FTX had bought out Binance's stake in the company through a $2.1 billion mix of FTT and BUSD, the stable coin native to Binance's exchange. CZ said the liquidation is expected to take a few months to complete due to market conditions and limited liquidity. It will also be done in a way that tries to minimize the market impact on FTT. Regardless, FTT has dipped 9.5% over the past day to $23.03 from $25.55, bouncing off of a low of around $22.
New chaos in the world of cryptocurrency.
The FTX token has fallen by double digits.
On Saturday, 22,999,999 FTT, worth $584 million at the time, was transferred from a wallet to Binance's exchange. That is the equivalent of 17% of the circulating supply of FTT. CZ confirmed the shifted funds were part of the exchange's move to liquidate its position in FTT. CZ stated in a Twitter thread Sunday that the decision to liquidate its position in FTT was not a shot at its competitor. However, one user on Twitter suggested that the selling could have an impact on loans backed in the token. Shortly after Binance CEO Changpeng Zhou's announcement of Binance liquidating its FTX token position, Alameda CEO Caroline Ellison tweeted at Zhou, saying Alameda would happily buy it all for $22 per share. CZ signaled that he isn't interested in an offer from Alameda to buy out Binance's FTX tokens, saying they'd rather stay in the free market.
At the beginning, I thought he would just wanted to, do a buyout on, do an OTC deal to buy out the FTT tokens we had. And then he wanted actually a buyout of the entire firm, of the entire FTX platform.
With reports and rumors swirling, FTX users began to withdraw their funds from the exchange out of fear it would go bust. FTX saw around $6 billion of withdrawals in the 72 hours before Tuesday morning, and commentators pleaded with people to remove their cryptocurrency from FTX if they hadn't already done so. Bankman-Fried wrote in a message to staff sent on Tuesday morning, "In the last 72 hours, we've had roughly $6 billion of net withdrawals from FTX." He wrote, adding that withdrawals at FTX's main unit, FTX.com, are effectively paused, an issue that would be resolved in the near future.
It was pretty clear pretty soon that there's misappropriation of user funds. The user funds are gone.
Reported data from Nansen on November 7 show that stablecoin outflows on FTX reached $451 million over 7 days, and users began to report sluggish withdrawals on FTX, with the exchange addressing the withdrawal complaints by assuring users everything was running smoothly. Shortly after the exchange addressed user concerns, FTX CEO Sam Bankman-Fried fired off a series of tweets, saying a competitor is trying to go after us with false rumors, and adding that FTX is fine, assets are fine. He claimed the exchange has enough to cover all client holdings, that it doesn't invest client assets, and that it has been processing all withdrawals and will continue to do so. Bankman-Fried said FTX had $1 billion in excess cash and called on Binance CEO Changpeng Zhou to work together for the ecosystem. On November 8, CZ made a shocking announcement on Twitter. He said to protect users, they signed a non-binding LOI intending to fully acquire FTX.com and help cover the liquidity crunch. FTX CEO Sam Bankman-Fried said that FTX had come to an agreement on a strategic transaction with Binance for the exchange to help cover what he called a liquidity crunch. He added that all assets will be covered one-to-one and cited this as the main reason FTX asked Binance to step in. Binance CEO Changpeng Zhou said shortly after that Binance had signed a non-binding letter of intent to acquire the exchange, but noted that it reserved the right to pull out from the deal at any time. A few hours after announcing its deal with Binance, FTX CEO Sam Bankman-Fried deleted his accusatory Twitter thread that also claimed FTX and its assets were fine.
From our perspective, the deal did not make sense from a number of fronts. From a financial perspective, is a big hole. From new users, FTX, we have very high overlap. We cover all the regions they cover, and they have much less users than us. From a technology or product perspective, I think we have a superior product. They don't have anything that we don't have. So our original intention was to let's save the users.
On November 9, the websites for FTX's venture capital arm, FTX Ventures and Alameda, were taken offline, while unconfirmed reports circulated that FTX's legal and compliance staff quit on November 8. Reports on November 9 began to surface that Binance is possibly looking to back out of the agreement. Less than 48 hours after the initial announcement by Binance CEO Changpeng Zhou that it could move to buy FTX, Binance announced that it would not be pursuing the acquisition of FTX. The exchange cited the reported alleged mishandling of customer funds and alleged U.S. agency investigations, adding that the issues are beyond our control or ability to help.
Binance is walking away officially from that FTX deal. It says here Binance's issues are beyond our control to help. They're citing a company statement. We don't have that statement quite yet. Again, this is according to Dow Jones. Binance cites due diligence reports on mishandling of FTX customer funds for dropping that deal. Again, this was a letter of intent, non-binding, so they didn't have the obligation to go through with this deal. It was up in the air. We'd had reports all day coming out that they may not go through with it, but it looks like officially the company's saying via Wall Street Journal, there's a statement out there that they are not going to go through with this FTX bailout.
FTX's website experienced downtime on November 9 for around 2 hours, and when brought back online, it came with a warning strongly advising against depositing and stating that the exchange was unable to process withdrawals. The warning was further confirmed in a pinned post on FTX official Telegram channel, with its administrator saying crypto and fiat withdrawals were affected and that they had no idea when it would be back online, saying they also had a lack of information at this point. Reports emerged on the same day that Bankman-Fried asked investors on a call for $8 billion in emergency funding to cover a shortfall caused by the flood of withdrawal requests to his crypto exchange in recent days. Bankman-Fried reportedly was seeking to raise up to $4 billion from investors and cover the remaining sum with debt financing and even his own personal fortune to make customers whole. On November 10, venture capital firm Sequoia Capital tweeted out a letter sent to its partners saying it will mark down to zero its investment of over $210 million in cryptocurrency exchange FTX, as possibilities of bankruptcy loom. In recent days, a liquidity crunch has created solvency risk for FTX. The letter says that the crisis facing FTX has created a solvency risk, but claimed its exposure to the exchange is limited in its Global Growth Fund 3, where its cost basis for the FTX portion of the fund totaled $150 million. In one of his first public statements since rumors and concerns about FTX insolvency flooded the crypto market, CEO Sam Bankman-Fried has said, "I'm sorry."
FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried apologizing for the chaos that's happening in the crypto industry right now. Just to bring you up to speed if you don't already know.
In a November 10 Twitter thread, SBF admitted to investors he should have done better in providing transparency on the situation with FTX. The CEO reported that the exchange was experiencing a liquidity crunch caused by user withdrawals and requested financial assistance from Binance, a potential deal that later fell apart. According to SBF, the exchange saw roughly $5 billion in withdrawals on November 6. The total market value of FTX International's assets was higher than its clients' deposits, but the liquidity varies widely, from very to very little. Bankman-Fried said, "The full story here is one I'm still fleshing out every detail of, but as a very high level, I fucked up twice. The first time, a poor internal labeling of bank-related accounts meant that I was substantially off on my sense of users' margin. I thought it was way lower." Bankman-Fried has said, "I should have said more. I'm sorry. I was slammed with things to do and didn't give updates to you all."
At that day, when he tweeted that, he should be working on other things. He should not be writing tweets. So actually, in one of the messages I sent him in a group I said, "Honest advice, Sam, stop doing whatever you're doing. Don't do anything more. Put on a suit, go back to DC, and start to answer questions." So that's a tweet. That's a message I sent him in a group, industry group.
The FSA made an announcement that it had taken administrative actions against FTX Japan following FTX Trading Limited's suspension of withdrawals, without explaining the reasons clearly to investors. The financial regulator said it had issued suspension orders and business improvement orders in accordance with Japan's Payment Services Act and Financial Instruments and Exchange Act. The Bahamian securities regulator, the Securities Commission of the Bahamas, froze the assets of FTX's local entity FTX Digital Markets and related parties and suspended FTX's registration in the country. It cited public statements suggesting that clients' assets were mishandled, mismanaged, or transferred to Alameda Research as the reason for the freeze, and determined the prudent course of action was to put FTX into provisional liquidation. The Bahamian Supreme Court appointed a provisional liquidator and FTX assets can't be moved without its written approval.
Securities Commission, who in a statement noted that it has taken action to freeze the assets of FTX Digital Markets and its related parties. Furthermore, the commission has suspended the registration and has applied to the Supreme Court for the appointment of a provisional liquidator. Now, that job has since been given to Brian Sims, KC. The statement adding that the powers of the FDM directors have been suspended and none of the company's assets, that of its clients or trust, can be transferred, assigned, or otherwise dealt with without the written approval of the provisional liquidator. There's the assurance that the commission is working with the provisional liquidator to obtain the best possible outcome for FTX customers and other stakeholders.
FTX opened withdrawals again on November 10, but only for users from the Bahamas. In order to help out users from different domiciles, a Bahamian account is reportedly withdrawing funds for others, bypassing the internal balance transfers block by selling non-fungible tokens on FTX's NFT marketplace. Some FTX users appear to have found a way to move money off of the exchange through a back door in the Bahamas. The Bahamian account creates an NFT, then the stuck user buys the NFT with their full balance. The Bahamian account then sends the money they paid to a decentralized wallet address of the buyer's choice. The State of California's Department of Financial Protection and Innovation, DFPI, announced on November 10 that it will investigate the downfall of the FTX crypto exchange. The DFPI encouraged anyone in the state who has been affected by the events of the ongoing FTX saga to call a dedicated hotline. It joined the growing list of U.S. regulators that have joined the investigation against the FTX exchange collapse.
His ex-girlfriend, who ran FTX's sister hedge fund, is now working with the feds and against him.
The crypto community continues to be bombarded with rumors and conspiracies entering into the fifth day of FTX's fall. The most prominent one is from November 11 and suggests that Mr Bankman-Fried was arrested on the tarmac at the Bahamas airport. The founder of the non-fungible token project, Not Larva Labs, was the first to retweet a post of a Flightradar 24 map that reported a private jet was grounded for around 40 minutes while on the way to Miami from Nassau, the capital of Bahamas, where FTX is headquartered. Mr Bankman-Fried has denied in a text message to Reuters that he has flown to Argentina. The rumors started after users tracked the coordinates of his private jet using the flight tracking website ADSB Exchange. The tracker suggested that SBF's Gulfstream G450 had landed in Buenos Aires on a direct flight from Nassau, Bahamas in the early hours of November 12. Zane Tackett, the former head of the institutional arm at FTX, confirmed on Twitter that the exchange currently has liabilities worth $8.8 billion. After several rumors about FTX facing an $8 billion hole on its balance sheet. In a November 11 tweet, FTX said roughly 130 companies in FTX Group, including FTX Trading, FTX US, under West Realm Shares Services, and Alameda Research, had started proceedings to file for bankruptcy in the United States. Mr Bankman-Fried has also resigned from his position and will be succeeded by John Ray. FTX US suspends withdrawals and FTX Ventures head resigns. The suspension came less than 24 hours after the platform issued an advisory urging its users to close down trading positions. Meanwhile, Amy Wu has resigned as head of FTX Ventures, following the announcement FTX would be moving forward with bankruptcy proceedings in the United States. According to her LinkedIn profile, Wu had been based at FTX Ventures offices in the Bahamas since January.
FTX went from a $32 billion company to bankruptcy in the matter of just 4 days or so. Mr Bankman-Fried is stepping down as CEO. The 30-year-old will stay on through the Chapter 11.
A document filed in a United States federal court in Delaware, where FTX US is based, revealed that the exchange may have more than 1 million creditors in these Chapter 11 cases that are said to belong to more than 100 different companies. FTX legal counsel said in the document filed Tuesday, FTX may have more than 1 million creditors, A new court document in the crypto exchange's bankruptcy case shows 10 times more than what the company said it had when it filed for Chapter 11 on Friday. As set forth in the debtors' petitions, there are over 100,000 creditors in these Chapter 11 cases. In fact, there could be more than 1 million creditors in these Chapter 11 cases. This revelation underscores concerns among analysts and industry watchers over how wide and far FTX's troubles could spread in the crypto industry.
Bankruptcy filing includes Bankman-Fried's quant trading firm Alameda Research and 134 affiliated companies all over the world. You've got places like Nigeria and Uganda, South Africa, to Europe, Hong Kong, and Switzerland. The estimated liabilities stand at between $10 billion to $50 billion. FTX also has more than 100,000 creditors, according to these documents. It was a stunning reversal for Sam Bankman-Fried. He had been bailing others out in the industry this year. One of those companies, BlockFi, pausing withdrawals overnight.
In November 12, suspicious move of FTX funds flagged. Wallets associated with FTX were detected transferring millions of dollars in funds to a common Ethereum wallet address, which had amassed over 83,878.63 Ether, worth over $105.3 million, in just 2 hours starting at 2:20 a.m. UTC. FTX US General Counsel Ryan Miller said in a tweet shortly after 7 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time on Saturday that the firm had expedited the process of moving all digital assets to cold storage to mitigate damage upon observing unauthorized transactions. Cold storage refers to crypto wallets that are not connected to the internet to guard against hackers. Miller said in a tweet that he was investigating abnormalities with wallet movements related to consolidation of FTX balances across exchanges. The same day, FTX confirmed via Telegram it was hacked. Tether proactively blacklisted $31.4 million worth of USDT tokens linked to the transactions. Blockchain analytics firm Elliptic said $477 million is suspected to have been stolen in total, while the remainder was moved into secure storage by FTX itself. Crypto exchange Kraken said on November 13 that after engaging with authorities, it had frozen the accounts of FTX Group, Alameda Research, and their executives on its exchange to protect their creditors. A Kraken spokesperson said it froze account access to certain funds we suspect to be associated with fraud, negligence, or misconduct related to FTX. The Securities Commission of the Bahamas has denied instructing or authorizing crypto exchange FTX to prioritize withdrawals of Bahamian clients. In a statement on November 12, the Securities Commission vehemently denied a November 11 statement from FTX on Twitter that suggested it had been instructed by Bahamian HQ's regulation and regulators to facilitate the withdrawal of Bahamian funds. The Royal Bahamas Police Force disclosed that an investigation into possible criminal misconduct over the insolvency of cryptocurrency exchange FTX is underway by financial investigators and Bahamian securities regulators. The Supreme Court of the Bahamas has approved 2 provisional liquidators to oversee the assets of crypto exchange FTX Digital Markets, which is headquartered in the country. According to a November 14 announcement from the Bahamas Securities Commission, the country's Supreme Court approved the appointments of PricewaterhouseCoopers advisory partner Kevin Cambridge and partner Peter Greaves to act as joint provisional liquidators for FTX. The securities regulator also applied to have Brian Sims, a senior partner of Bahamas-based commercial law firm Lennox Patton, as a provisional liquidator on November 10. Given the magnitude, urgency, and international implications of the unfolding events with regard to FTX, the Commission recognized that it had to and moved swiftly to use its regulatory powers to further protect the interests of clients, creditors, and other stakeholders globally of FTX Digital Markets led, said the Securities Commission. The regulator added, over the coming days and weeks, the Commission expects to engage with other supervisory authorities on a regulator-to-regulator basis, as this event is multi-jurisdictional in nature. Turkey's Financial Crimes Investigation Agency is the latest authority to announce investigations into crypto exchange FTX after its collapse and bankruptcy filing on November 11. Along with FTX, the agency will look into people and institutions related to the platform, including banks, electronic money institutions, and crypto asset providers. According to an official statement from November 14, the regulator also noted that it had been monitoring FTX activities in accordance with the country's anti-money laundering laws. Prosecutors with the United States Attorney's Office in the Manhattan District of New York have reportedly begun investigating the fall of crypto exchange FTX. According to a November 14 report from Reuters, a source with knowledge of the investigations said authorities in New York were looking into the collapse of the major crypto exchange following FTX declaring bankruptcy on November 11. The report followed news the state of California's Department of Financial Protection and Innovation announced it would be investigating the apparent failure of FTX. The ongoing saga with FTX may be shifting to the regulatory and legal implications of a major crypto exchange collapsing. Rumors have circulated around social media platforms and news outlets concerning the firm, as well as former CEO Sam Bankman-Fried.
Tom Brady, Giselle, Steph Curry, Larry David, Shaq, all named in a class action lawsuit involving Sam Bankman-Fried's now bankrupt FTX. Well, nobody blames them for taking easy money, but they must accept that there are very hard consequences when things turn south.
A class action lawsuit has been launched against FTX's former chief executive, Sam Bankman-Fried, over the crypto exchange's collapse, which also names as defendants a host of its celebrity backers, including Larry David, Naomi Osaka, Gisele Bündchen, and Shaquille O'Neal. Filed in Florida by class action attorney Adam Moskowitz, the case is one of the first to attempt to hold the sports stars and entertainers who promoted cryptocurrencies in the boom years responsible for their support, as well as naming Bankman-Fried as a personal defendant. The case pulls in as co-defendants a host of names who it claims either controlled, promoted, assisted in, or actively participated in FTX trading. The lawsuit claims the deceptive FTX platform maintained by the FTX entities was truly a house of cards, a Ponzi scheme where the FTX entities shuffled customer funds between their opaque affiliated entities, using new investor funds obtained through investments in the IBAs and loans to pay interest to the old ones and to attempt to maintain the appearance of liquidity. Part of the scheme employed by the FTX entities involved utilizing some of the biggest names in sports and entertainment, like these defendants, to raise funds and drive American consumers to invest in the yield-bearing accounts, which were offered and sold largely from the FTX entity's domestic base of operations here in Miami, Florida, pouring billions of dollars into the deceptive FTX platform to keep the whole scheme afloat. As the FTX empire has collapsed, the company's celebrity spokespeople have scrambled to distance themselves from the company. Brady, a star NFL quarterback who was one of FTX's most prominent supporters, has deleted a number of friendly tweets tagging in Bankman-Fried from the company's Crypto Bahamas conference, at which the former FTX chief executive interviewed Tony Blair and Bill Clinton. The company also sponsored the home court for the Miami Heat basketball team, renaming it the FTX Arena. In the last week, the team announced it would be terminating its relationship with the crypto exchange, calling the news extremely disappointing. David appeared in a series of commercials for FTX in the role of his loosely fictionalized counterpart from the sitcom Curb Your Enthusiasm, rejected crypto investment opportunities. The advert's tagline was, "Don't be like Larry."
I would imagine their attorneys are going to say, A, they had no idea that this was an investment that would be dangerous. They were told that everything was fine on the books at FTX. They'll also, I would imagine, say that there's some caveat emptor here. You know, these are risky investments. Cryptocurrency is something a lot of people can't, you can't wrap their hands or their brains around for very good reason, I might add. What do you think of those defenses?
Well, I think that's exactly the point. How can they say we didn't know much about it, but as you just saw from Tom Brady's commercial, he's saying it's safe and a great investment? The SEC and the regulators have made it clear. If you're going to be a celebrity endorser, you need to state right up front what you're getting paid, what your incentive is, so that the public, when they listen to you, can make their decision. These celebrities did nothing. Steph Curry did nothing. Larry David did nothing but say, trust us. And the only way this massive fraud could have taken place for $12 billion is to get the largest and most famous people in the world that everybody will rely upon and trust. And that's what they did. And they were going to share in the recovery of FTX, so they got to share in the liability.
Sam Bankman-Fried was arrested for financial offenses against laws in the US and the Bahamas. According to a court filing, FTX has owed its 50 largest creditors almost $3.1 billion. Among the most serious allegations against Mr. Bankman-Fried is that he used billions of dollars of customer funds to prop up his investment trading company, Alameda.
In the Bahamas, this is Sam Bankman-Fried. You see him there exiting the courthouse. He has been ordered to report back to prison where he will be held until February 8th. So Sam Bankman-Fried denied bail, and here he is exiting that courthouse. Apparently, in response to the decision, he hugged his parents, he shrugged his shoulders, he was visibly disappointed. Here he is in the custody of the Bahamian authorities. The judge jailing the FTX founder until the case resumes again on February 8th.
When you're talking about criminal charges, you're talking about potential jail time. And in this case, you're talking about some really potential significant jail time, given what likely the guidelines, the federal sentencing guidelines, will be in this case. So it will absolutely be DOJ. And I think we're going to learn a lot more, really, probably over the course of today, as to what the exact criminal charge is and then ultimately what the exposure is. But sort of given my experience, wire fraud, securities fraud, money laundering make a lot of sense here. And we'll be looking at some pretty significant federal sentencing guidelines.